Today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite video games of all time, Sleeping Dogs. Came out 13 years ago already in 2012. And I would say if you had to create a list of the top 10 Grand Theft Auto style games, even if you included the actual games from the Grand Theft Auto series, if you included San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Vice City, etc., I think Sleeping Dogs would still be in the conversation for top 10 games that are in the style of Grand Theft Auto. Because yes, while it's a crime game where you steal cars and do a lot of the same things that you do in Grand Theft Auto, it does so many things different and unique that set it apart, where it feels like a completely different experience between the heavy emphasis on hand-to-hand combat, martial arts, because it does take a lot of inspiration, not just from Grand Theft Auto, but from Hong Kong martial arts culture and your martial arts movies that, like Bruce Lee and everything from back in the 70s and 80s. Like, it really was, just from a narrative perspective, from a gameplay perspective, one of the most memorable gaming experiences I have ever had in my entire life. And recently, I decided to replay it on PC, because I played it twice before. I had it when it came out on Xbox 360, then I played it a few years later when it became free with Games with Gold on the Xbox One, so I played the Xbox One remaster, and now I am playing the PC version for the very first time. And I love it. I am having a blast still after all these years. I think the gameplay and the overall game itself has held up remarkably well for a game that came out towards the tail end of the PS3 360 generation. And the good thing with PC is if you don't like the graphics, if you think it's too outdated, there are texture mods out there available for you to download. Me personally, I didn't care enough about that to be bothered because I think the game is beautiful just the way it is. Despite its age, I still think it's gorgeous. And just the world of Hong Kong is so vibrant and full of life and really fits the actual city of Hong Kong, where it's all packed in. There's so many street vendors everywhere, and it's such a unique setting. I thought it was great. It was absolutely brilliant, everything that they did in this game. Is it a perfect game? No. But there are very few games that I think are. Honestly, there are probably no games out there that are perfect, but I think it's still, even to this day, a solid 9, maybe even 9.5 out of 10. And the entire premise of the protagonist, Wei Shen, being an undercover cop, infiltrating the triads, and him trying to balance those two things at the same time, because despite him being a cop, he kind of feels a connection to the triads and the gang members, and he feels like he deep down is part of them. And that's even reflected in the progression system that this game has, where you earn cop XP and triad XP. You earn triad XP for killing people during missions and just being as violent and brutal and as ruthless as you can possibly be, but at the same time, you can earn cop XP by driving safe on the road, not doing as much property damage, like making sure that you're actually doing things kind of more by the books, and just with as least amount of collateral damage as possible during the missions. And you could also do cop missions, too, like where you're chasing down suspects in the cop car and a cruiser, and like chasing a criminal down the street and apprehending the suspects, and you earn different abilities and perks based on which progression tree you decide to go down, if you want to go the triad way or the cop way. You can do both at the same time. It is very possible to do that, but I just love how you get different abilities that kind of fit more with whichever perk tree you decide to go up. So like with the cop XP specifically, if you earn enough of that, you earn abilities and perks that are tied to the actual gunplay of the game, which makes sense because obviously cops have high-level training with firearms. But then when it comes to your triad XP, that is more useful with hand-to-hand combat and also carjacking and things that criminals do, that you could do in the game. So overall, I would say Sleeping Dogs is still one of the best games that you could possibly play in 2025. If you like single-player open-world game you really can't go wrong with this one. There's really, nothing I can really say bad. I'm probably biased because of the impact that this game had on me, and maybe I'm letting the nostalgia cloud my judgment a little bit. Like, I wonder if I was a lot younger than I am, right? And let's say I'm like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old now, as opposed to, back in 2012 when this game came out, and I'm playing this for the very first time, with it being a 13-year-old game at this point, maybe I wouldn't like it as much, but I think it's aged pretty well, and I think it actually still holds up quite well. That I can't say, oh man, this is rough to play. Like GoldenEye 007 on the N64, that game's pretty rough to play. A lot of the PS2 shooters that came out back in, they were pretty rough to play. And I grew up during some of those games too. So like, I understand when a game kind of hasn't aged all that well, but this doesn't seem like one of them to me. Only really when it comes to textures and graphics and that kind of stuff, but I think even visually, it's still fairly good. But the sales were disappointing that they had to shut down the studio that developed this game and ended up not doing anything else with the series. There were supposed to be sequels, and we actually did technically get a sequel. I forget the name of it, but it was like Sleeping Dogs, whatever the subtitle was of that game. And it was an MMO style. It was pretty much like Grand Theft Auto Online, but Sleeping Dogs. Oh, it was Sleeping Dogs Triad Wars. That's what the name of it was. It pretty much took Sleeping Dogs, the same map, same gameplay, same everything, and just turned it into an online multiplayer experience, but it was exclusive to the PC, and it got shut down within 2 years of coming out. So it really wasn't much, no one really cared about it. It didn't really take off. People would rather have had a sequel to the actual single player than some tacked on multiplayer shit that really didn't fit this game that well. So yeah, it's really unfortunate when you think about what ended up happening to the developers for making such an incredible game to basically losing their jobs and having nothing. It's really just devastating when you think about it. Like, the potential that this could have had if they waited 4, 5, 6 years to make a sequel and use the technology that we had for the newer game systems, or even, like, to this day now. Like, imagine what they could do now with the sequel, with modern hardware, especially with the hand-to-hand combat, and even improving the gunplay and everything. Like, it could have been so great if this series actually continued. And now that we're at the point where Grand Theft Auto only comes out once every 15 years, and it's crazy because we used to have so many games. We had Sleeping Dogs, we had Saints Row, we had so many different game series that were trying to emulate Grand Theft Auto, and now we don't have any of that anymore. It doesn't exist. The GTA clone is no longer a thing, which sucks because it would have been the perfect time between Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 6 to get more games that were in the style of GTA, but all we really got was not even Sleeping Dogs, because that came out before GTA 5. We got Saints Row 4, Watch Dogs 1, 2, and Legion. Yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. So, whew, I wish we had more GTA clones. That's all I'm gonna say. Sleeping Dogs, though, is a pretty damn good GTA clone, because despite everything that it takes from Grand Theft Auto, it spins it into its own thing, and is something that is incredible at the end of the day. So I easily recommend this game for anybody to play in 2025. Absolutely.